If you come to Thomas Paine Unitarian Universalist, which is where I serve part-time, you will hear me preach a lot on Dr. Seuss and Shel Silverstein, and I was thinking over this. It's like I might quote them more often than I do other sacred texts. Other sacred, because I include this as sacred text right here, right? It's sacred in the fact that the message held within these pages goes past the words, goes past the story, because the story is a vessel for much deeper and much more poignant truths. Right? The more I read, the more I listen to music, the more I live, frankly, the more I realize how much is sacred. How much is sacred, right? A children's book bears witness to the reality of strife in our world. Popular radio stations bring messages of despair and hope for a better tomorrow. You want a religion of comfort and challenge? Read some Dr. Seuss. Like, really, actually, right? Immerse yourself in Shel Silverstein. Turn on the radio and listen to some Beatles, some Taylor Swift, some Lady Gaga. Like, those are the prophets of our times, and they bear heeding. When I talk about Unitarian Universalism to people who don't know our religion, one of the common questions I get, and if you're a minister, you might get this question, but if you're not, you might not. I say, what do you preach about? Right? It's like, okay, it's a really broad, really sort of nebulous faith. It's like, okay, well, what do you talk about on Sunday mornings? Because therein lies some of our institutional solace and our institutional difficulties, right? The faith sort of embodying its own message. And if you have attended a few or many services, you may know the answer about what do we preach on. Everything, right? We preach on everything. Yes, the Bible might get referenced, but we might also reference the Torah, the Quran, the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, and we also may reference Doctor Who, J.R.R. Tolkien, right? Beyonce, Marjorie Williams, Carl Sagan, Leonard Cohen. I mean, these are some of my prophets I look to. Right? Revelation is still open, always open. And whatever brings you a greater understanding of yourself, a greater understanding of the world and your connection to it, that's holy, that's Scripture, right? So I come to you today inspired by the contemporary prophets of John Lennon, Yoko Ono, and Dr. Seuss. And we just heard those lyrics spoken and sung. And the song is very popular. I'm sure many of you know it. It gets a lot of positive and negative response. And I didn't realize this until I was researching that in its 50 years, it's been around 50 years, I didn't realize how much it's lauded and praised and also sort of looked down upon. It's praised as an anthem of peace, an ideal of humankind transcending differences, coming together in tranquility. It's been sung at Olympic ceremonies, state funerals, covered by numerous artists, become a sort of cultural phenomenon spanning countries. And I've also heard Imagine proclaimed as a, quote, atheist pop song, which leads me to the strongest negativity I've seen, calling it sort of anti-religious, which I think is funny, having an anti-religious song in a church, but that's me. And interestingly, though, I've never seen anyone condemn it. Maybe I haven't dug deep enough in the interwebs. I'm sure there's someone out there. But I've never seen anyone condemn Imagine for being anti-consumerist or anti-government. Right? Although we are called to imagine no heaven, no country, no possessions. And for me, I don't think the intended message is necessarily about religious belief, or even in religion as an institution. I see the message as exactly what Dr. Seuss was saying in the Butter Battle book. The problem is what happens when we build up associations in our minds, in our cultures, of us versus them. The Butter Battle book was written during the Cold War, if you can catch that parallel, and I think it's pretty obvious that it parallels the arms race which was happening at that time between the USA and the USSR, right? We have a slingshot. Oh, you have a slingshot too. I mean, the children got it, right? They got it. Well, then we have a gun. It keeps escalating until there we are, stalemated with nuclear weapons poised at each other, right? Mutually assured destruction. It's crazy making. I mean, it's crazy making. It's like, okay, the fact that any difference can get so big, so out of proportion to the point that we're like, you know what? Maybe we should just annihilate each other. Like, yeah, that sounds like a good option. And the butter is hyperbole for those small differences. Right? And what do these two pieces have in common with each other? The intersection is the genesis of the problem, the buttering of bread. Do you eat with your bread butter side up or butter side down? Because one way is correct and the other way is wrong. Right? If Lennon was a zook, he might have instead sung, imagine if there's no butter, it isn't hard to do, no up or down side, and no toaster too. Right? I mean, I don't think the content of the differences is inherently bad. It's not the content that's the bad. Religion isn't always negative. If I thought religion was always negative, I might not be here. Owning stuff isn't bad. Butter and toast isn't bad or evil, but the division which comes from those associations is destructive. I'm curious how an activity would play out here. Who here has a professional sports team that they support? I mean, you can own a Birds. I think go Birds. Yeah, right. I know there are Eagles fans. Right, I know that. Phillies, Flyers. Okay, yeah. See, what's one of the big rivalries to the Eagles? Dallas. Okay, Dallas. Okay, so what if we put all the Eagles fans together and got them really excited about their team and really focused on being better than another team? And maybe we get the Dallas Cowboys together and get them really excited. Oh, wait. That's every single football game, right? That's what it does. That's the whole point. Right? You get excited, you cheer on your team. And what if we did that with other identities, other affiliations? Everyone who prefers cats to dogs just get together and talk about how great cats are or how terrible dogs are. Those of us who identify as male or gather and create times and spaces for men only. Oh, hold on a second. We can go further. We can separate by height. We can separate by hairstyle or eye color. You might know this famous exercise, which was done on children, where a class was segregated by eye color years ago, many years ago. One group was given power and benefit over the other, and it quickly devolved into colorism. And they actually started believing that they were better than the other group. Another group actually started believing they were worse. Okay, there's a spectrum here. Divisions run the gamut from professional sports teams to racism. Right? There's a spectrum of divisions. But that's the problem. That's the problem right there. Because as soon as I am part of a group, there is explicitly or implicitly the other. Right? That other may be derided, may be teased, may be looked down upon, or just ignored and neglected. Right? I eat my butter on the top, right? And those who eat it the other way are wrong. And in that example, we start to see the absurdity of it. My team is better at this sport than the other team. It doesn't matter that I'm not personally playing, or that the players maybe aren't from this geographic region at all, and could be playing for our rival next year. And if you're feeling what's he talking? Like, if you're feeling that, note that, right? There was excitement. Someone just came to the 76ers, right? Isn't it? What was that excitement about? LeBron James. Yeah, where was he in the past? Lakers. So now he's Philly. Now he's with us. I mean, I don't know. I'm just opening this up to say, some more emotions attached. We can hopefully we can step back from our emotions enough to know that the divisions are a bit arbitrary. They're a bit arbitrary. Like, what about our religion? What about our governmental system? Because that's what we were singing about. That's what we're alluding to in the book. I'm Unitarian Universalist. Maybe many of us. I used to be Christian, but I have outgrown my uneducated, harmful past. I've heard that stated almost verbatim. I mean, that's an okay view. But where does that leave us with those people who hold Christianity to be dear and true in their hearts? And with governments, it gets sort of twofold, because most people in the United States of America like that we are representative democracy. We think that democracy is better than, say, theocracy, which is based on religion, government based on religion. But here in this country, there is such identity with one of two political parties, right, that even saying, I am pro-American, creates an us versus them mindset. Right? Notice that emotion again. I am pro-American. What's happening there, right? I agree with my party leadership, and I think the other group is a bunch of idiots. I mean, you don't have to raise your hand, but like note if you're like, yeah, right? I've heard that said almost verbatim from any affiliation, not just one. And here's the thing, human beings are, in one aspect, very social creatures, and we like to be with people who are similar to us. There's a reason for all of these divisions, right? Anthropologists look to our prehistoric past, and they say that human gathering in groups and bonding over similarities is the way we adapted to ensure that our tribe, our family, our genes survived. Right? So the best way for my family to survive is for us to bond together and protect one another. And that's part of our ancient evolution. That makes sense. But even into modernity, our tendency to band together has remained. So we have this like ancient tendency to band together with like groups. It's still here now, which isn't as helpful. So what do we do with this mindset thinking, okay, tribalism, arguably what we're doing, tribalism, can be divisive. Do we abandon all governments, all religions, like Yoko Ono said, like John Lennon said? Do we abandon this all? Do we say professional sports teams, all ways of buttering bread, we're done with them? What truly would happen if there were no divisions or differences? So imagine a reality of unity with me. Imagine a world, actually take the lyrics, say, imagine a world with no religion and no countries. It's really hard for me because that's the system I know and am steeped in and grew up in. Right? That's the culture I am in. But if there were no religion nor country, I think the world would not necessarily be a more kind or more peaceful place. In my imagination, I see a world where connections are hard to make. And although divisions are less prevalent, so is community, so are relationships. What holds together any community of people is not a shared way of being, right? That's what holds us together. A shared way of being, a shared belief system. And for me, I think that's the crux. I think the message of the Butter Battle book, the message of Imagine, is not that we dispose of all differences. The message is that we dispose of us versus them, that mindset. Right? If we want a world where all variety of religious faith and countries and sports teams and breakfast options, we want those differences. I want to be able to butter my bread on the top. I want to be able to root for the Cowboys or the Eagles. Right? I want those options to exist, but I want to let go of the judgments. That's the world we can imagine. And I'm not sure how to rewrite the lyrics, because I was having fun with the lyrics. And I was like, oh, maybe imagine there's no judgment. It's quite hard to do. Without a rating system, you are beloved too. Yeah, see, it can work. We can do this, right? And sure, you can look, a lot has been done negatively in the name of government and religion. And that's an understatement, right? A lot has been done negatively, more than we can even think about. But so much good also. Countries provide security, sense of belonging, sense of identity. Those are not bad things. Religion can also bring a sense of identity, a purpose, an outlet for social justice, a place of comfort, a place of challenge. Those are not bad things. We just need to drop the judgment and the rating, the implicit or explicit notion that our way of living is the best, or that our way of living should be the same as everyone's way of living. Right? It's good to come together in community. It's good to have people who understand you and your quirks and your ways of being. Affinity groups exist for a reason. I mean, if you come in, well, I've come here a couple times. You hear me preach, you're like, oh yeah, he talks about Shel Silverstein, Dr. Seuss. I preach about community and relationships a lot. You're like, oh yeah, here's Andrew talking about relationships, community. Because that's one of the tenets of my personal faith, that we sustain the divine through our interactions. Right? For me, this gathering is the holy made manifest. This is it right here. And other religious gatherings are the holy made manifest. Creating connections doesn't always and doesn't have to be at a religious setting, right? It's not just through religion, not just through countries. Some of us find meaning, find solace at AA meetings, at book clubs, at gyms, at clubs, at lunch groups. The divine spirit and love and life, which I believe in, is created by those affinity groups. So when I imagine a new world based on peace and understanding, it isn't one without any affiliation. My imagined world has many, many groups. But instead of insider versus outsider, we can be together with those groups. We have no us and them. We let go of the judgment. We let go of the ego. Now, I'm all about lived faith. I'm like, okay, that's what you believe. That's wonderful. Like, show me it in your life. So what does this mean? What does this mean to still have these groups, these affiliations, these countries, these religions, but not the divisions? How can we take an idea of community without judgment into our lives? And I think, for me, it comes down to 3 spiritual practices: curiosity, humility, and openness. That's how we sustain our groups, but not the divisions, not holding on to the things which we would fight over. Curiosity, humility, and openness. I'm a Unitarian Universalist. I could look down on other religions and deride people who hold different faiths. Or it could come with humility, knowing in my soul that what works for me and what is true for me is not necessarily true for someone else. I can come with curiosity, asking open questions, not the, oh, what do you believe? Like, no, like what? Curiosity, actual openness of curiosity. And the openness without judgment to hear another group's, another person's truth. Right? I don't like owning pets, but I can relate and interact with people who have pets with humility, curiosity, and openness. I might even be able to see value in buttering the other side of my bread. Or I might get to a place of understanding across a political divide. Oh, those first 2 sounded easier, right? Okay, pets, no pets. Yeah, buttering different side. Oh, political. Oh my gosh. Right? Yeah, this is hard work. This is really, really hard work, which we're sort of set up for failure. Our culture, our lifestyle sets us up for failure. It's easy to go along in my daily life and not interact with people who live in other places, who think differently, who live and believe differently. Right? What would it look like had the Zooks and the Yuks sat down and asked about why they butter other side of the bread? At what point in the Cold War could an open and understanding have helped? Conversation. Could it ever have helped? Right? Was there a place where a conversation could have happened? Is there a place now in the United States, in Ukraine, in Gaza, in Palestine? Right? This is where I hear the words of the song and I say, maybe a world without nations would be better. Maybe it would. But the identity, the meaning that people have from being Ukrainian, from being Palestinian, from being Pakistani, from being Jewish, there's value and worth in those identities. That's where my faith goes. That there must be another way. That there must be a way of keeping differences while letting go of divisions. So maybe one last rewrite is due. Not as poetic, not as consoling, but challenging us a little bit in our comfort. Imagine there's some work to do. It isn't hard if you try. We need to see each other and listen before we die. That's our work. That's our charge and our calling. Amen and amen.